High-income ETFs have become extremely popular over the last few years, and covered call ETFs in particular have become a core holding in many investors' portfolios because these ETFs maximize income generation by selling call options on their underlying holdings to generate premium income, which is then distributed to investors as a dividend yield, typically upwards of 10%. The high income serves as a great source of cash flow while also minimizing portfolio volatility by cushioning the downside with the extra income. They also allow investors to regularly dollar cost average into stocks or ETFs that go on sale, thanks to their frequency of dividend distributions, which tend to be on a monthly or even a weekly basis. And this can be a game changer when it comes to compounding growth over many years. Now, today, I'll be breaking down two of the most talked about high-income dividend ETFs that are among the best in their class at providing an exceptionally high source of dividend income, with dividend yields ranging from 10 to 15% and a fantastic source of growth, rivaling the growth of the Nasdaq 100, the QQQ. And one of these ETFs may have just become my favorite. I'll be going over the pros and cons so that you can decide which one might be the best for your portfolio. We'll be focusing on 5 key areas: dividend yield, dividend consistency, capital appreciation, strategy, and tax efficiency. And I'll be using Seeking Alpha's premium tools and comparison charts to break it all down. This brings me to QQQI and GPIQ, the NEO's Nasdaq 100 High Income ETF, and the Goldman Sachs Nasdaq 100 Core Premium Income ETF. Now, these ETFs have unique differences in how they actually work, and it's extremely important to understand what these are because it heavily impacts their total compounding performance over the long term, and that is the most important thing. So with all that being said, let's dive right into it. First, we're going to start with QQQI. This ETF was established in January of 2024, so it is very new. The fund invests in stocks within the QQQ and sells covered calls to generate its exceptionally high dividend yield of 14.2%, which is much higher than GPIQ. The fund has an expense ratio of 0.68%, which is relatively high, and there are actually a few reasons for it, which I'll go over in just a second. So first, let's talk about the dividend yield. The fund becomes extremely attractive for income investors, but the higher yield here is partially due to the fund generating slightly more income, but majority is a result of distributing more of the fund's total returns as dividends rather than capital appreciation. You can see that when you compare the price return of this fund, it is approximately 3 to 4% less. Now, I'll be honest, it is a very clever way of attracting more investors because many people simply look for the highest dividend yield as their preferred investment. However, by doing so, investors miss out on the full compounding effect. With less capital appreciation, your money experiences slower compounding growth and weaker momentum, unless you actively reinvest a portion of your dividends back into the fund yourself. As a result, the fund's yield on cost chart will likely stay flatter over time. This chart measures the fund's dividend yield relative to your original purchase price. Typically, an upward trending yield on cost chart indicates capital appreciation, while a downward trending chart suggests NAV deterioration. In QQQI's case, I expect the yield on cost to stay relatively flat, which is fine, but its NAV might have a harder time recovering over time, mainly because of the fund's high distribution rate. Now, moving on, there are a few things I really like about this fund. For one, its dividend distributions are on a monthly basis, which is fantastic, but they are also very consistent. Every month, investors get relatively the same amount of dividends. So if you're planning on using this income for personal reasons in retirement, it is very beneficial. On top of that, almost 90% of the fund's dividend distributions are categorized as return of capital, which makes them very tax efficient. And I have a video that explains return of capital in detail. But the most important takeaway here is that the income you're receiving is initially tax deferred, which means that you pay no taxes on it. And then after your adjusted cost basis reaches zero, you pay capital gains tax on every further dividend distribution. And this is very favorable, as opposed to paying regular income tax. And keep in mind, if you're investing in a Roth IRA, then return of capital doesn't matter because all of the dividend income and growth you receive in this type of account is not taxed. Return of capital is only important if you're using a regular cash account or a margin account. Moving on, as I mentioned earlier, the fund's expense ratio is much higher than most covered call ETFs. And there are 3 main reasons for this, which brings us to the fund's strategy. For one, funds from prominent financial institutions like JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs are able to provide lower fees simply because of their size and reputation. Secondly, and most importantly, QQQI actually sells call options on up to 100% of their assets. Essentially what this means is this. Let's say you own 1,000 shares of the QQQ. Since each call option contract represents 100 shares, selling call options on 100% of your assets would mean selling 10 call options. Keep that in mind. By writing call options on up to 100% of its assets, QQQI naturally sells far more options compared to a fund that only writes on, let's say, 50%. And the more options you sell, the more transaction costs and fees you end up paying. However, there is a benefit to this. The fund will generate slightly more income relative to its peers, allowing it to cushion the downside slightly better. And you could see that in a few instances. Now, choosing between individual ETFs is difficult. There are dozens of options in every category. But the real challenge is building a structured ETF portfolio. And if you're looking to start the year strong and learn how to build or optimize an ETF portfolio, you can join my Build Your ETF Portfolio workshop. And for the next 3 days, you can use the code FEB70 to get $70 off. This is a no-fluff, framework-driven workshop that over 100 members are already using to bring clarity and structure to their ETF portfolios. Inside, I walk you through a step-by-step educational framework covering growth ETFs, dividend strategies, high and fixed income ETFs, and international diversification. Whether you're focused on growth, income, or a balanced approach, and whether you're just getting started or nearing retirement, this workshop gives you a clear structure to make more informed investing decisions. You'll also get 1 week free access to my Substack community for ongoing market insights, new ETF launches, dividend portfolio strategies, and direct Q&A with me and my team. So if you're ready to kick off the year strong, you can enroll using the link in the description or comment section below. Now, it's important to note that the fund is selling out-of-the-money call options on the Nasdaq 100 every month, which means that the fund provides room for the underlying assets to appreciate in value. But if the fund managers misjudge market movements, they can significantly restrict the fund's growth and momentum when they cap the growth of 100% of their assets, and that can be a problem in the long term. The third reason behind its high expenses, which in my opinion is the biggest reason, is that QQQI isn't just selling call options, it is actually also buying a set of out-of-the-money call options at the same time. And these call options are specifically meant to boost the appreciation ability of the fund. If the underlying assets appreciate in value, so will the call options. So essentially, the fund is combining a covered call strategy with a long call in order to maximize income generation, but also help boost the total returns of the fund. However, I have a few problems with this. You see, when you buy a call option, the only time this will appreciate in value is if the underlying asset appreciates beyond its strike price. So in simple terms, the assets have to appreciate by a minimum amount in order for that call option to be profitable. That is the key. Now, I'm not going to get too technical, but call options suffer if the underlying asset falls in value and even if it stays flat, and that is because of time decay. Time decay, also known as theta decay, is the natural process where the value of an option contract declines over time. So even if the QQQ stays completely flat, those call options are going to lose money, and that will eat into the fund's performance. So overall, in my opinion, I think the fund is great, it's very tax efficient, and it has a very high dividend yield. But by selling calls on up to 100% of its assets and purchasing call options, that could work against them in the long term, resulting in a higher expense ratio and potentially hindering its total performance. Also, I think it's very important that investors reinvest a portion of that dividend distribution back into the fund. All right, now moving on to GPIQ, and this fund is actually very interesting. This ETF was established in October of 2023, so it is slightly older than QQQI. Currently, the fund has a dividend yield of just under 11%, and it has an expense ratio of only 0.29%. Now, just so you know, the fund managers are waiving a 0.06% fee temporarily, so down the road, the expense ratio will jump to 0.35%. Now, the fund is still a covered call ETF that holds stocks within the Nasdaq 100 and sells call options against it. However, GPIQ isn't selling out of the money call options, it is actually selling at the money call options. And if you've watched my previous videos, you know that I am against funds that sell at the money call options, because that means you are restricting the growth potential of the underlying assets completely and trading that for income generation. Funds like QYLD and XYLD sell at the money call options on the Nasdaq 100 and the S&P 500 respectively. And you can see how much they lag the other ETFs that sell out of the money call options. But GPIQ added their own interesting twist. Instead of selling call options on the entire 100% of their assets like QYLD or QQQI, they are selling at-the-money call options on only 25 to 50% of their assets, so averaging at around 35%. And there are two reasons why this is very effective. For one, the fund is leaving more than half of its assets to appreciate in value without any cap, and this is great. But the second reason is that selling at-the-money call options naturally generates a lot more premium income than selling out of the money call options. And just to give you an idea of how much of a difference there is between selling at the money and out of the money call options, take a look at this chart. The amount of income you receive from selling just one at the money call option is significantly higher than what you get from selling out of the money calls. To earn the same premium as a single at the money call, you would need to sell 136% more contracts at 1% out of the money, that's more than double, 190% more contracts at 2% out of the money, nearly 3 times as many, and 640% more contracts at 5% out of the money. That is over 6 times as many. Now, these numbers can vary based on market conditions, but this example was pulled directly from a real QQQ options chain just a few months ago, and it highlights just how steep the trade-off is when choosing out-of-the-money strikes for the sake of upside potential. So essentially, the fund managers are capitalizing on higher levels of premium income while using a smaller portion of the fund to do so, while leaving everything else open to appreciate without any cap. And this allows GPIQ to capture more upside potential. You can see its strategy works because over the last month, GPIQ did capture more upside potential compared to QQQI, and when you compare the fund's total returns since inception, you can see that it managed to capture a decent amount of returns more than QQQI. So in my opinion, the fund managers are using their capital very effectively and very efficiently to maximize growth potential and income generation, in contrast to QQQI, which I feel wastes a certain amount of their capital. Now, looking at its dividend distributions, it is also very consistent, just like QQQI, and like I said before, this is very beneficial for income investors. And the fund's dividend yield is also very tax efficient because just like QQQI, it distributes over 90% as return of capital. So at the end of the day, you as the investor get to keep more of that money. Now, the fund's dividend yield is substantially lower than QQQI, which is why I think the fund has not gained the same amount of assets. The fund will still undergo significant capital appreciation, therefore allowing investors to capitalize on the compounding effect, which I think is extremely important. So with GPIQ, you may not need to reinvest such a large chunk of its dividends. And for income investors, that can be a game changer. That is why I think its yield on cost chart will not only trend in a stronger upward direction over time, but the fund will also be better at recovering NAV after significant sell-offs, which is the most important thing. But of course, this fund will shine in an upward trending market, but in a downtrend, QQQI will likely provide slightly better downside risk mitigation because of its strategy. But if you're able to capitalize on more upside potential, even by a slight margin, let's say 1 to 2% a year, the impact this could have on your retirement portfolio compounded over 20 or 30 years is exponential. A $100,000 portfolio compounded at 7% a year for 35 years will return $1 million, or compounded at 8% a year will return $1.5 million. And combine that with a low expense ratio, I personally prefer GPIQ more. And that is all for this one. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit that thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye! This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not financial, investment, tax, or legal advice. Discussions of ETFs, investing strategies, market updates, or specific funds are general, not tailored to your financial situation, and should not be relied upon for decision-making. Investing involves significant risks, including total loss of principal, and past performance does not guarantee future results. I am not a registered financial advisor. My content reflects personal research and publicly available information. I may earn affiliate commissions from mentioned products or links disclosed per FTC guidelines, but these do not influence my opinions. Always consult a licensed financial professional and verify information independently. By watching this, you agree I am not liable for any losses or consequences from your actions. International viewers should consult local regulations.